Hi, this is Christopher DiLaurenti. I'm going to show you a basic operation in Adobe Audition CS6, also known as Audition 5. We're going to open a file and we're going to trim it to a desired length. Quite often you'll be out in the field, you'll make a recording, you'll let the deck just go and go and go, and you'll have 5, 10, 15 minutes, and what you really just want are maybe 10 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes. So the first thing we want to do, we have Audition already open. We want to open a file. One important thing to note about Audition. Audition works in two modes. If we look at the upper left-hand corner, you'll see waveform, and then you'll see multi-track. Those are the two modes that Audition processes files. We're actually in waveform view, which allows us to work with a single waveform, wave file, AAF file, MP3 file, one at a time. In multi-track mode, we get to stack and layer them. That's for another video. So let's open up a file. Now you can open up a file multiple ways. You can drag and drop to this highlighted Files pane. You can activate the Open button, or you can go old school and simply use the main menu and say Open. And there is our dialog that shows us several files to choose from. You'll note that there are .pkf files. Those are peak files, and essentially those enable Audition to draw the waveform a little bit more quickly. They are not sound files. PKF are not sound files. They're merely descriptive files. So you want to make sure that when you're opening a file and saving a file, and more importantly backing up a file, you don't need to care so much about the PKF files. The .wav files, the .aiff files, MP3s, those are the things you want to copy. Let's open gran_rat.wav. We'll open it right up. You'll note that as Audition opens, it gives you a little thermometer bar here that lets you know the file name when it's open shows up in the file pane window along with the duration, and we see it in our waveform view. Now, we are looking at a stereo file. And we can tell by going to the right hand side here and see that there is L and there is R. If you look at the back of an old CD player, back of an old stereo VCR, back of an old tape deck, you'll see that left is always on top of right. This is a universal rule of audio. If for some reason you only want to listen to one channel, you can temporarily disable it by clicking it. It's grayed out. You'll only hear the right channel. And our meter proves it. Our meter, by the way, parallels the depiction of the waveform. So the two bars, left is always on top, right is always on bottom. I'm going to go and hit the toggle switch again so we're listening in stereo. And let's hit play. I hit the space bar last time, but here's the transport button. And look, there are our meters. Left is on top, right is on bottom. As a side note, in Audition, you will want to set your meters and set them to -96. To do that, you right-click just above the meters and you pick. I prefer -96. If I'm working with 24-bit audio, which we'll talk about later, then you want 120. But 96 should be good. 24 is not going to give you a sufficient range. Watch, we've just selected 24, and we play a little bit here. Just a little snippet here, and watch the meters. Watch the meters at the bottom of the screen. Well, we get some of it, but not all of it. And that's simply because the meter is only set to really depict everything that's happening above 24 all the way to 0. If this seems a little strange, let's go back to the right-hand little status area here, and you'll see it goes from infinity, and 0 is actually our peak. There are many flavors, specimens, species, if you will, of decibels. Here in digital, with digital decibels, 0 is the absolute peak. It represents full code. Okay, let's get back to our mission of trimming a recording and getting the desired audio. To select a bit of desired audio, you simply swipe the cursor from left to right or right to left, and the selection is highlighted. Very simple. However, if you want a little bit more finesse, you can go up to the timeline and position the cursor right on the little edge here. It turns into a bidirectional arrow, and you can move it a little bit more gradually. If you want more of a nudge, you can also click here and enter in a value. You can click here and enter in a value. And if you just really want to be brutal and say, well, I only want 17 seconds, you can do that as well, and you can make that 5 into a 0, hit enter, and there it is. To zoom in, you can use this zoom menu here, or you can also hit the plus key or the minus key. Now, to select a little bit of audio, let's just assume that most of this audio is junk and we just want a little bit. We just want this portion right here. And I'm going to take the mouse and place it up in the timeline so I can precisely grab that. I'll zoom in a little bit, hit the plus key, make sure I'm really getting it. Yeah, that's close enough. Oh, but this little bit, I don't want that little bit that's here on the left, that little squiggly stuff. So let's move that like so. Now you've made your selection. There are several things you can do. You can manually copy it and create a new file, or you can use a pretty nifty feature that Audition has by right-clicking over the selected area. Right-click, copy to new. And what it does is takes that selected audio and copies it into an entirely new file for you. And here it is. Let's look up here. It's Untitled 3. The star, by the way, means that it has not been saved. So if you want to save it, which is what I would like to do, I'm going to hit Save. And here comes a dialogue, which is actually, it's very awkward. Unfortunately, this is one of the bad things of Audition, is they've made this ugly and impractical. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call it gran_rat, and then I'll apply another underscore, and then a 00, and then another underscore, and then to the right I'm going to describe what I did. Trims, let's say trims and fades, because I'm going to apply fades in just a moment. So I hit OK. I want to check the location because this, unfortunately, okay, yes, C, document setting, desktop for test session. You want to make sure it's going to the right place. So we hit OK. And now we look in the left-hand file pane menu, and pow, there it is with a new name. But we want to apply some phase just to make it a little bit nice so there isn't much of a jolt. You can do this a couple ways. You can select an area, go up to favorites and hit fade in, or if you are working on the tail end of the audio, you can go select the tail end as I just did and hit fade out. Audition also has a couple of pretty neat ways to do this. You can take the little square here, you can grab the square and graphically see what the fade is going to look like. That's very nice. That is actually a good thing about this software. And if you want a super duper long fade out, you'll notice that the curve changes. It becomes less linear and a little bit more logarithmic. This is actually changed by how you move the mouse and how you adjust the tension. You'll want to experiment because every mouse is going to handle a little bit differently. So it applies the fade. Now, to make sure I keep the changes, I'm just going to go up to File. You can also hit Control S, which is probably what I should have done, but there you go. Save. We saved the file. So we just trimmed a small portion of a file out from a larger file. We applied some fades, and we saved it.